Well, everything that I had in my notes has been said much better than I could have said it. I have never felt so honored than when I was called one of Maston's boys by Javier Elizondo. I feel so honored. Sometimes you feel unworthy, but thank you, Lord. Thank you. I have to express appreciation to a lot of people. Jimmy Allen was talking about why he was chosen to talk about some things, and it was really because you were blamed for hiring me to the Christian Life Commission in 1964. Floyd Valentine recommended that we talk, and Jimmy Allen felt so guilty after running out of gas down in the Dallas Canyon the night that he was offering me the job. And he just could not back away. Jimmy, thank you. Thank you. I look around the room. Patsy Ayers, Bill Jones, Jimmy Allen. I would call Floyd Valentine. Wish he were here with us. We're so glad to have you, Mary Francis. Very glad to have you here. But I think back to the year 1991 when I was asked to be by Jace Jones, who was really the person that started the Maston Foundation. He said, would you come and be the chairman-elect of the TBMaston Scholarship Foundation? And I guess the one thing I was most grateful for, my wife Charlotte, who had been a Maston board member before I ever got on the board, Charlotte did not drop the black bean on me, as she certainly could have on that occasion. I was honored to study under Dr. Maston from 1956 to 1960, and then finally finished my doctoral work under him in 1964. The event that shaped my relationship in a way, I had gone off. I had gone off to the Peace Corps. I had worked for a number of years with the federal poverty programs. I wanted to put my hand to the plow. Sometimes I wonder if I had put my hand to the plow and looked back too many times. All of us have done that, I think. But in 1987, I think it was, I happened by Dr. Maston's house at the seminary. I don't know why. I was over there, went by. He said, Weston, I can't go to Richmond anymore for the missionary training center. I'm not allowed to travel anymore by my doctors. And I said, well, I'll go with you. We'll go together. I rented a car in Washington, and we drove over and spent a week. And you saw it right here tonight. You saw the man as he was, very humble, simple, and plain, telling people how to do good and how to serve the Lord. And there are probably some of you who are missionaries that have been to those events and heard Dr. Maston do just that. That was his nature, to be able to do that kind of message. Dr. Maston was kind of tough, too. He once wrote me and said, Weston, I understand you're smoking. I wasn't at the time. So I let him know that I wasn't smoking at the time. When he was, all of you, or many of you, knew Browning Ware very well. Browning would go in to do his work with Dr. Maston on his dissertation. Dr. Maston would take the chapter and go, and the Lord can hit some pretty good licks with some crooked sticks. The Ware boys are a proof of that. And I'm grateful that that's true. Otherwise, I couldn't be here tonight if it weren't true that the Lord can use all of us. What a wonderful thing. And I think I learned that from Dr. Maston and from many of you in the room here. The earliest effort that I had with the foundation was with the IRS. We had been in existence as a scholarship organization for 5 or 6 years, and we had to work with the IRS to get certified as a real foundation. Our CPA in Austin, I'll blame this on Chase Jones, Bill, wherever you are, sent me a letter saying, send the IRS $1,200 for the years 87 through 91 or 92. And I did, and they applied it all to the first year and penalized us for every year after that, and threatened us taking away our home and our lands and everything. That was the first thing. That wasn't the most fun. But we did get started with some things that were really fun. We changed the name to the TBMaston Foundation. We wanted to be able to think bigger. How many scholarship people are here tonight that have been on one of those stipends? 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a bunch of them across the country. Scholarship, piddling little old scholarships they were, but meaningful scholarships. David Morgan. David worked on ethics retreats. Ethics retreats. And grown into programs that we do for students to come in and be Maston scholars. I've been credited with a lot tonight. We didn't do it in his office, Bill. I told you wrong. It happened later, but around 96, Glenn Earl Rose of Abilene, a layman, called me and said, Weston, we've talked a lot about having a TBMaston chair of Christian ethics. And we had always said, someday we're going to do that. And he said, why don't you do it at Hardin Simmons? Since I married the 1956 Queen of Hardin Simmons University, even though I was a Baylor grad, I had some inclination to want to be supportive of Hardin Simmons. Browning Ware, Hal Harrelson, David Morgan. If I left you out, I'm sorry, but we went down and we visited with Mr. President Hall, Lanny Hall. I'd known Lanny when as he said, he he provided an office, and what was it you said, as long as you voted right on the gambling issue? But we began to work together, and in 1999, at one of these meetings, Lanny stood up and said, well, we've done it. We've got us a chair of Christian ethics for TBMaston at Hardin Simmons. We need to think big. We need to think great thoughts for, and it just takes little bits at a time. We've always done the scholarships. Now we've done the Maston Reader, and I haven't had anything at all to do with that except watching the others work and the board members working. But I think back through the years of the people that, people like Gail Taylor and Anita Tillman, Rosemary Wade, David Clanton, others that made meetings like this happen. Doing good, little bit at a time, making something happen. Bill, I still remember your Dectaline shirts. Is that what the word is? Bill had 2 shirts when we were in youth evangelism. He's always been relatively conservative. And one of them would hang over the shower almost every night. And those were good times. Bill Strickland's not here. We miss him, Carolyn, and all of you. He was a member of this church. Hardest, I hated having a boss that worked harder than I did. He worked hard, and he was good. Marilyn Davis. Hi, Marilyn. Marilyn saved my life many times when I was going back and forth to Austin, doing the legislative things. Ken Camp. Ken took my bumbling reports and made me sound intelligent in the Baptist Standard. And I'll always be grateful for that. It's a joy to be retired now from Austin because Susie Painter and her people are there and they're doing good work. Now I want to say a word about the Hispanics and my love. My desire, my sense of mission to work with Hispanics, not a mission to them, but a mission with them. I'm delighted that some of our Hispanics from our church at Cliff Temple are here. People are here from San Antonio. I remember driving in a 1937 Oldsmobile with a broken window through a terrible storm down by Beeville, where it always rains when you're driving down that way. Daddy was driving with me. I was 14. Rodman was 10. Connie was 3. We were going to the valley, and I don't know where my mother was. She was off doing something for the WMU anywhere in Texas. We got to Brownsville, and Daddy became the president of a little, dinky little school for Mexican kids, or Mexican-American kids. First year, I think they had maybe 30 students. It was much bigger by the time Javier Elizondo got to Harlingen, when he had moved to Harlingen. But it was a good work. It was doing good in the Maston way. It's interesting, A.C. Miller is a friend of some of you are here. He was the first director of the Christian Life Commission here and in Nashville. He did my mother's funeral in 1948. and did my father's funeral in 1982. A great man who was doing the good work in the same area as we heard about TBMaston, and our man from Georgia that rode a motorcycle and made a great impression on Jimmy Allen and influenced your life. I did try to preach when I was 20. In fact, in January, I will have been in the ministry 60 years. That's a long time. I was pastor of a little Mexican mission in Gatesville, Texas. And the children would laugh when I would try to preach some in Spanish. And the bathroom was this door right behind the pulpit, and there was a loud flush about every 5 minutes. And actually, I would, prayer meeting was on Thursday nights. You know, preachers, it's awful tough for a preacher to preach once a week now. I would go back on Thursday night, and you could ride the bus from Waco down to Gatesville for $1, I think it was. And then you had to hitchhike home after the service. And that was right after the war. People picked up hitchhikers and took me home. That's when I learned to sing Cristo está buscando obreros hoy, ¿quién quiera ir con él? ¿Quién dirá, Señor, contigo voy? Yo quiero ser que quiero. Oh, Señor, es mucha la labor. Oh, Lord, there's a lot of work, but there's always going to be workers. If you have people that are listening to TBMaston, I am so humbled to be one of the Maston boys. I thank you for that, to be a part of that. Maston, I kept trying to use my Spanish. I went off to Panama in the Peace Corps. I taught Sunday school at the First Baptist Church, Primera Iglesia Bautista of the Panama. And when I was Peace Corps director, I was a Sunday school director at that time. And actually, goodness, I thought I had it in my notes. Roberto Garcia, I think, was the interim pastor then. And I sat under his preaching on Sundays. And then our brother over at Southwestern, Daniel Sanchez, who's professor at Southwestern now, came. That was his first church around 1965. Well, I've got names of people to talk about, and I'm not going to talk about a whole much more. It's time. I'm supposed to quit, so I'm going to quit. There was one other thing. When you get old, you have the permission to do this. Well, anyway, I had a good quote in here. The best one, I guess the best one has already been quoted tonight, and that was by Javier. 1 John 2:6. He that saith that he abideth in him ought himself so to walk, even as he walked. Boy, that's a tough standard. Dr. Maston had tough standards. I've often wished that I could have walked better, but it's been a great trip. Thank you for being a part of the crowd along the way. Thank you.
Weston, you have honored the foundation and all of us, and we're so grateful that we've been able to watch and to walk, see your walk as Jesus walked, and we hope we can follow your example. Thank you.